today I thought I would do how to do oil painting. So this is for well, a tutorial on how to oil paint for my friend in Canada. So if you're watching, hello. I'll link her this video because I was meant to go through with how to do oil painting with her, but she left, so I'm going to be doing it for you today as well. So what you need to do oil painting is very simple. You need a bunch of oil paints. So all my oil paints are in here. Actually, there's a bunch more in the shed. So always have a lot of oil paint on hand. You want to always make sure that you have white oil paint as well, because you'll need a lot of white oil paint. That's why if you have little tubes of oil paint, it's good to always have a big tube of white oil paint, because you're going to end up needing quite a lot of the white. In terms of how much you need on your palette, you really, like a little bit of oil paint goes like an extremely long way. Like a very, very long way. So you only need like the tiniest little amount of oil paint. If you're obviously working larger scale, you're going to need more. And also if you build up texture, you're going to need more oil paint. But you also need a palette. So I just use wooden blocks because they just happen to be outside. So I put everything on my wooden palette. You can reuse these over and over. You just put new paint on them. You're also going to need some oil. So you need linseed oil, and what I do with my oil paint brushes, don't mix them with your acrylic paint brushes, because you can't mix the two, because oil is not dissolvable in water obviously. So keep your oil paint brushes in a different section, and you're gonna need some linseed oil. So we have the linseed oil. I keep everything over here. So you can use pale boiled linseed oil. This is just from Bunnings. You can get this. You can mix turpentine with linseed oil to thin it out a bit, but I actually don't use turpentine for a few reasons, because if you use turpentine, you probably need a really well ventilated area, and also well, it's extra cost as well, but also it ruins your brushes. Like, I prefer using acrylic paint brushes for oil. So every time I use oil paint brushes, I actually keep it in the same pot, and I just keep topping up the linseed oil, so I never actually have to wash these. I just keep it all in, I keep it all inside the one pot and keep topping up the oil paint, so that way, because if you were using turpentine with these brushes, it would actually dissolve the brush. So if you're going to use turpentine, you need a glass jar. Don't do it in plastic, it will dissolve the plastic. Any other basics that we need? Yes, we also need palette knives. So I've got palette knives as well. So palette knives are good for building up texture. And basically, you just do the oil painting now. So this is what I'm working on at the moment. So I'm actually just working on the floor right here, but this is a nice little landscape I'm working on. So I'll take you through how I do that. So I grab my paintbrush, make sure it's nice and clean. You're going to need to wipe that off on a towel, then you get some white, good chunk of that, and we're just going to add it into the background here. So this is an impressionistic style artwork. That's why I'm using quite a lot of oil paint to get the texture in. And if it's too thick, then you can dilute it down with linseed. So I've just dipped some linseed oil in there and then blend it out. The one good thing about oil painting is that it takes forever to dry, which is actually a good thing if you want to blend, because obviously you have more time to blend. Things don't dry that quickly. So you can blend that into the atmosphere. See the purple down here? We need to blend that, so I'm just going to add in some purple to add some darkness in the bushes. I don't use black if I want to add shadow. I mix colours, so I'm mixing a bit of red with blue to get a dark shade, and then I'm I'm creating the bush here. So it's quite dark actually. You don't need too much of that. Then once you've got some of the darkness in, you can go in with more green to blend it. Like that. See how that creates a sort of bush right there. Now for the exciting bit. We are going to add in our lily pads. So we're going to actually mix moulding paste with some acrylic. So the layer I have done before is actually all dry, so I'm actually going to add modelling paste over the top of this. You can mix mediums I guess with oil paint, just don't mix the acrylic while it's still a liquid with the oil paint obviously. Just wait for one layer to dry. So if you do an acrylic layer, wait for that to dry and then put oils over the top. There's a few reasons why I want to do this. Is because you want to paint the background fast, and acrylic dries faster than oil paint, so you want to sometimes do a background in acrylic and then add oil over the top. You might want to do that because oil paint is more vibrant. It's a more vibrant colour than acrylic, so it'll dry much nicer. So that's why you can actually do oil paint as your final layer to add texture and make it more vibrant. So I'm putting the lily pads in now. So I've mixed up some yellow with some green and I'm going to add that to the modelling paste. And I'm literally going to chuck on my lily pads. So here's my little mini palette knife. I'm going to use maybe about that much modelling paste, not that much at all. Put that on the palette and I'll show you how I do this. I'm just putting some darkness underneath them. So mix a bit of blue and green. And then I'll just go underneath them like that. With the grass down here, you need way more darkness, I just realised, so just load up your brush. That looks more grass-like. And then to add highlights, we'll put some yellow in. Try not to go overboard with the white. You want to try use colour where you can. So that's why I chose the yellow before, but sometimes you need to add a bit of white just to get those highlights going. Needs more yellow. I really need a cool yellow, not a warm yellow, but I'm gonna make do with what we've got right here. I just realised I forgot to tell you how to finish the oil painting. So, there's a few ways you can finish artwork. For oil painting, you can finish it with a Damar varnish, like that. You just brush this right over the whole thing. Obviously I'm going to wait for it to dry before I do that. It'll take a few days to dry, but it really does depend on the weather. You can also finish it with a spray gloss. You can finish it with resin. There's a few things you can do. So it depends what sort of finish you want. I prefer with oil paints for a nice glossy finish, so I'll give that, I think, a spray with the gloss.